Just to do a quick introduction before we get started, my name is Monique Macklin. In the industry, I'm known as the Pink Power CEO, where I help people who average around $50,000 or more annually to make, manage, and multiply money so that they can begin their wealth journey.
Hello, this is the Prophetic Financier Al Mills, and I specialize in helping individuals, or like to call enhance their socioeconomic mobility by producing more financial time and location freedom the righteous way.
I
Welcome to the
love it. I
call.
love it.
Welcome to the
Welcome to the
call.
call. Yes. So today's topic is business ownership for everyone. So
Oh
that is
boy.
our that is our topic for today. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because a lot of times I know people are in a financial fight for their life, right? And they're always trying to figure out, even if they have a quote unquote good job, that good job is still not enough, especially when inflation has you in a chokehold financially. So they're looking for ways to start businesses, right? Or do side gigs or something that they can call their own, or they'll hear people say if you have 40 hours or 80 hours to give a job, you should find 10, 20, or 30 hours to give yourself, right? But a lot of people don't really understand the nuances that come with business ownership, correct?
I would agree with that for sure. There's so much more involved than just filing a few pieces of paper at the Secretary of State by phone.
Right. And then most people are hearing the same message regurgitated over and over and over again, especially during the pandemic. We would hear it all the time, right? Just go
Mhm.
get an LLC, go get a bank account, and then go get some money and start your business, right? And we all know that that is not the way to actually start a business because, as Al often says over and over again, an LLC is not a business, right?
It's a special purpose vehicle in most cases, and once again, we're not giving legal, accounting, or financial advice. This is purely our first-hand knowledge and just giving education to those who are sharing what we want to offer, and it's also for our family and friends. So,
This is also based on experience.
and,
Yeah.
definitely experience. First-hand knowledge is always the primary knowledge here. We're not just reading two chapters ahead of you in a book and then regurgitating it to you. This is something that we've been there, done that, and perfected. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, absolutely. But yeah, so business is much more than just filing, doing a filing or an incorporation. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more than that. And I think that's where folks get it, I would have to say,
Twisted.
misdirected. They get misdirected or they disinformation because initially we were all taught to learn how to earn money, right?
Correct.
But when you begin to look at things from a business perspective, you have to understand checks and balances. And it
Mm-hmm.
starts home. They says charity starts at home, right? So the first business that you first have to perfect is
Hmm.
family business.
Family business.
Every household on the globe has an economy. There's fun, there's money coming in and there's money going out.
Correct.
And so if you've never been able to monitor that income and outcome, then you can never multiply it. And so
Exactly.
there's your first portion to know that I don't know something and I need to do this before I can go and do and engage in commerce.
Right.
Because personal, family, and household, according to the according to the CFPB and according to, is that it's for personal family. You're not doing business if it's for your personal use or your family use, but you have to run your family like a business. That's why
Right.
there's a father and mother. That supposedly the way it was taught is the Most High first, and man yields to God, and then man provides the leadership to his wife and his children. And so there was the order of corporate. There was the corporate structure right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you learn how to manage finances, how to acquire assets. But how many of us ever really had that model?
Not many of us,
And so
right?
so then we entrust because we see a person online or somewhere that's showing some symbols of wealth or riches, if you will, and they have a multitude of followers that, you know what, this person knows what they're doing. I'm gonna
Mm,
follow their blueprint. And faith comes by hearing, right? So if you're constantly hearing that same thing over and over again in your mind, in your ear gate, if you will, you're gonna
right.
begin to believe that that's a truth.
This is true. This is so true. So again, what you're saying is the first order of business when if you haven't learned to manage your household properly, how are you going to then start a business somewhere in a different space, right?
Absolutely. If you can't manage 30, 40,000 and two kids, how could you ask the Most High or want an opportunity to give you three, 400,000, 500,000 if you couldn't master the small money?
Mm-hmm.
The larger the money is the more the problem, the more the
The more
responsibility.
this is true.
It doesn't fix itself.
Doesn't. And that's the problem that most people believe is if I just get some more money, okay, I know I got my income tax and they gave me $10,000 and I just blew that. But just give me a little bit more, Lord, and I'm gonna do the right thing with it this time. When you didn't do what you were supposed to do with your income plus your income tax, let's say, and now you want the universe to give you more.
Well, it comes back to do you have the creator mindset or the eater mindset?
Right.
Either you
Because
eat your seed or you learn how to plant it and grow more. It's just a very fundamental principle.
so in your experience and expertise, when someone is saying, I need to start a business, I want to start a business, I am good at doing hair, let's say, um, and I know I can just open up a storefront and I can make this happen.
Well,
Is
that's a
it?
tactician. That's someone who's a technician or a tactician, where they are the ones facilitating and doing the physical labor. Like in
Mm-hmm.
any business, right? Let's go back to childhood. I think everyone can relate to this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, mom, dad, grandma, big mama, whomever. It always seemed like when you was a child, you was the human remote control. Go change the channel for me, or go
Correct.
get this for me. You felt like you always was like the maid or had to do the cleaning and then all those different things. No,
Cinderella.
that
I
was
thought.
order. It was order of operations.
Yeah.
It was an
I
order
thought.
of operation.
I thought
You
I
were
was
the laborer.
Cinderella.
You were at the bottom. You were at the bottom of the pyramid at that point. Your name
Yeah.
is child. You don't work nowhere. You don't know how food is purchased, clothes are bought. But what you're going to do is going to pave your way or contribute your way in this family by, you know what, on Saturday morning, you're going to get
Yeah.
up. You're going to polish this furniture. Here's a cloth. Here's some orange oil or whatever you're going to call it to polish this furniture. And you're going to do what you need to do.
Right. That's
There was
true.
the groom. That was the training ground. But then somehow that premise changed.
Hmm.
No more house chores.
Yeah.
Kids got more opinions. We're
Yeah.
able to now contribute an opinion in an allegedly democratic household.
But don't you want? Listen, look, this hour, I'm gonna say something because that's how I kind of raised my daughter. She has some chores, but at the same time, don't we want to create free thinkers?
Well, in order to be a great leader, you had to be an excellent follower.
True.
And so if you can't follow instructions, how could you ever lead and issue them? So that becomes the whole point in submission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even in our spiritual journey, the ultimate is to have total submission. But how could we sub unless there was a mission? The Most High had a mission for us. And so
Mm.
once we bought into the mission, we can be submissive to it. That's why it's called submission.
Right.
When you submit to the will of God, because there's a blueprint already set up. It's not your blueprint. You're
God's
submitting
will.
to the golden blueprint.
Right. Right. Right.
And
No, that makes
so
sense.
if children don't want to submit to their parents or to the blueprint of the household, you're not going to be a great leader.
You're not going. I was going to say that you'll be a horrible, a horrible boss if your kids you can't get your kids to listen to you. Then yeah, you're definitely going to be a horrible boss.
And that's part of
So
the training. So that we've lost that, right? So now
yeah,
everyone thinks now that they have to forego being an apprentice or being a soldier or being an Indian, if you will. I'm just using that as phrases. Everyone wants to wake up and be a chief. No one wants to
that's
be number
true.
two.
That's true.
Why is it so horrible to be Robin or to be Tonto or to be the
Mm,
sidekick? There's nothing wrong in being number two. No one wants to
nothing
be
at
the vice
all.
president. Everyone wants to be the chief. If there's nothing but a bunch of chiefs, then guess what?
Hmm.
Everybody's just going to be giving instructions and nothing's going to get done.
This is so true. This is so true. And then a lot of people will, when thinking about starting a business, they want to start it. They like, I can do it on my own, right? Um, but then when you're doing it on your, if you're a solopreneur, technically, you just bought a job, correct?
Right. So let's look at that. So most of your life, you either went to school or you worked on a job.
Hmm.
You were not the creative thinker because nine times out of ten, you were doing what your manager, your supervisor, or your boss gave you to do in the form of a standard operating procedure or
Mm,
operation manual. So you're following what they want you to do. They're not paying you to think. That's why this whole educational system in America, especially, was based on the Prussian system. When Henry Ford donated $120 million to the educational board back in the early 1900s, he says we don't need critical thinkers, we just need workers. And that gave
mm,
birth to learning how to earn. Put them through a training process from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade,
wow,
and then 4 years of college, they would have demonstrated that they can follow instructions and they're a good follower.
wow.
Those are the people that we want to work in our companies. We
So
don't
that
want people to challenge our authority.
right. But and I think that was another reason why I wanted to ensure that my child was able to, yes, follow directions, follow orders, but still not be a follower as in follow the crowd and be able to think freely on her own and make decisions on her own. Because if you've been told what to do all your life, when you go out into the real world, you don't know how to have your own opinion and stay in your own ground. Right. So I understand what you're supposed to do in a household, right? As far as following your parents, but you still should have a mind of your own. But like you just said, the school system was creating a bunch of followers and people who were not willing or able to think on their own.
You see, laws were implemented for the lawless. Because if you were the law or you
Hmm.
was in laws, in the law, see these phrases, you hear this a lot in family, in the in-laws. Well, if you're operating lawfully, you don't need laws because you
Mm,
are the law. And,
correct.
a classic case to that is from Adam to Musa, or Moses, if you will, or Moshe, or Moshe, whichever,
Hmm.
there were no laws.
Okay.
Moses started writing the first Levitical laws, but prior to that, man self governed, but yet was still in submission and harmony with the Most High. There wasn't a series of rules,
Mm,
it was divine consciousness,
okay.
right? And
Yeah.
so, but now when you get injected into a system of thinking, then you never had an idea to create. You didn't know how to do that. It's like an animal, it's like a lion who was born in captivity. He's a lion. He has
Correct.
the body, the look, the the prowl, everything. But one
Hmm.
thing he would not have if you let him free is survival skills. Because every day the zookeeper brought his food to him.
Correct. He didn't have to go hunt
And
for
so
it.
even though he's a lion, all the
Yeah.
attributes, his instincts were not honed, would not know how to survive in the wild. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here to say that we live in an animal kingdom. We're just a higher form of creation, but it's an animal kingdom.
Mm,
And every day when you wake up, you're either the predator or you're the prey. And
wow.
if you never learned how to survive and to feed yourself, be self sufficient, and you're expecting someone to pay you for showing up, now you're in trouble.
That's what people will say. Instead of starting their own business, they have to go and get a job because that is more
It
quote
doesn't
unquote
require
secure.
planning, doesn't require planning or thinking, and it's something that's secure. They believe they're going to get a guaranteed compensation.
Guaranteed. But we all know that at any moment that job can just say, we don't need you anymore. So is it really so at any moment you're really at risk of losing any quote unquote job you have?
That is correct.
Because that's you know like in most states in Maryland here, it's an at will state. So you know they don't owe you anything. So I remember when I did work in corporate America, and I was because I'm not a good employee. I will never lie and say that. I just don't like the rules that come with being an employee. Like I quit a job because it had a 30-minute lunch. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I was
So,
like,
so
yeah,
here's a great question for
yeah.
you. So, if
Uh-huh.
you admitted, and thank you for the truth and transparency.
Hmm.
So, if you knew that you were not a good employee, why would you hire yourself in the form of self-employment?
In my instance, I just felt it. Well, let me say this. Anytime I did go and get a job, I would sit there and kind of stew over the fact that I am missing out on my opportunity helping
Hmm.
this company grow when I could be doing this for myself. Right. So it's like when you know what they're paying you versus what they're earning, it kind of, triggered something in me. And I said, well, if I just went home and put the same effort and energy into what I'm doing for them and to myself, I would do I can start to generate the income and revenue that I wanted to actually do.
And that
Um,
that that
so
took
yeah.
you to a place now, when we talk about the four levels of consciousness, you went from an unconscious incompetent state to a conscious incompetent state where you knew that you didn't know something and it wasn't working
Hmm.
for you. The math wasn't mathing, right?
Yeah.
So at that point,
The
isn't that the beginning,
micromanaging and stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the beginning now of pursuing knowledge on how to be on the other side of that equation? Isn't it now at that moment one should want to model or emulate or copy someone who is successful at doing that side of the business as opposed to you just assuming you have all the tools which you've never seen them. You've never
This
had
is
to think
true.
about them. But this is what happens each and every day when someone just believes that I have a dream and I'm gonna file this piece of paper at a Secretary of State, and I'm gonna get the bag, and I'm gonna have a booming banging business. Where
Correct.
how so wasn't there a piece of information missing called knowledge?
Not yeah. You have to get the knowledge. Like my first business, honestly, when I started 16 years ago in this business, was in loss mitigation. And I said, and I was doing well. I was doing averaging about $10,000 a month, doing that on my own. But then Wells Fargo hired me to do the same thing inside, and I wanted to learn exactly what happened on the inside. So when I had clients coming through, I knew exactly what the process would be once it hit the bank's desk. So
Exactly.
I was able to do that during the day as a mole. And then I would go home and do my business at night and call people when I got in at night. So I could continue to grow my business, but I knew the process that they would go through once I submitted their file to these, specific banks and things of that nature.
Right.
So I
Mhm.
had to get the knowledge. I wanted some more information on how things work. So
And
yeah.
so in the success ladder scale, when you begin to learn power dynamics, the only reason one should become an employee
Hmm.
is to act like an employee or a friend, but be a spy. Your goal should be learning how business operates so that when you leave, you can implement and do your own thing. But most stay there and just all they're focused on is the paycheck. They're not learning, they're not paying attention to how operations are set up, how they govern the
Mm.
meetings. No one's paying attention to what they need to be paying attention to.
This is true. This is true. Or they just think, oh, I can do that. I can do that. And just because, like the example I first gave was doing hair, just because you can do hair doesn't mean you know how to run a business,
That's all.
right?
That's again, I can speak to this fact that a lot of my financial partners and friends are highly paid professionals, doctors,
Hmm.
lawyers, dentists, chiropractors, physical therapists, architects, and they all have the very same complaint that their time is tied to their earnings and they cannot
Mm.
continually do that for the rest of their lives because the rest of their lives is their most precious commodity because no matter how much money you earn in your life, it could be 1 billion or it can be 30,000. When your time is up, your time is up. Your mortality is your mortality. And it
That's
is
so
what it
true.
is. And so getting rich or getting as rich as you want is not going to elongate your life. So
It's
what you
not.
want to do is create a system where you have enough wealth of time and freedom to enjoy it with the limited time that you do have, with the things or the persons that mean the most to you, that's when you become free.
Mm.
That's when you're living wealthy, is when you can enjoy it with the persons that you want to be with without a limitation. So that's why you should be pursuing lifestyle over money, is so that you can do the things that you desire to do with those you wanted to do it with, as opposed to just working to accumulate a bunch
Stuff.
of paper and
Yeah.
stuff,
And stuff.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be frank, the items that we wear depreciate. Just the other day, I was having a
Yeah.
conversation with someone. A brand new Range Rover, a 20. We'll give an example. A Range Rover loses 10% of its worth in the first year, and then in the second year, 32%. So over a 2 year period, you over 42% depreciation. So you bought a truck for 140, 130. By the
Mm.
sec by it being 2 years old, you've lost 42% of the value.
Wow.
So if you had knowledge now, you would know, don't buy a Range Rover brand new, buy it 2 years or more older. Sweet spot is 3.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've pretty much have gotten away from the highest form of depreciation. Now you'll buy it at a discount as well. You're not going to pay $120 for it. You're
That's
going to
true.
pay $60,000 for it.
That's true.
Where someone 2 years ago would have paid almost twice the value. See, we have to understand the cost of goods and services. So
That's
how
kind
much
of
is it
the.
costing you? How much is it costing you slaving, doing the 40 hours a week for 40 years to only live on 40% of what you produce when you were actively working? These are the challenges. This is why it's important to understand why the top of the question, the top of the call, the question was, is business for everyone? I'm going to say absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say absolutely, business for everyone, because you got to handle your family business first,
True.
and that's an internal thing, and then you have to learn how to handle business externally in commerce.
Mm. It's so true. Because if you don't, then you're gonna be in trouble.
Because there's one thing is true, there's nothing new under the sun. And we talked about submission, right? In being submissive to the mission. Well, the mission for all of us, no matter which denomination you wish to associate, which is fine, is that we're supposed to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the original seed,
Mm-hmm.
and then subdue another opportunity. That was spoken to our spiritual connotation. So if you're not always being fruitful, multiplying, replenishing, and subduing, then you're not a part of the mission.
Mm.
So here's a question. So if you have a job and you are spiritually aware or metaphysically conscious in your consciousness, and you go to work to get the same pay every week, where is the multiplication?
Right. You're always having to do something for the money to keep coming in. And I kind of use the whole utility, become like the utility companies, right? You signed up one time, and in order to keep your lights on, you got to make sure you pay that bill each month. So you want to become a company that people can't do without, right?
Correct.
So that's one of the things that when you see these big businesses actually booming the way they are, it's because they've learned how to do that, and it's not necessarily that they're doing their passion; they're providing what people need.
Yeah, and like Sister Yapa said, basically, we're in the business on that birth certificate. You're right. That's the
Yeah.
first form of commerce that happened, is we became chattel property to a fiction, which we should have a whole conversation on that. And when that happens, you never own anything. You never can really control anything. You're just a straw, if you will. And so, but when you learn how to really operate in this system,
Hmm.
it has major benefits to it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you no. If you're
Right.
failing and you're losing the game, is because you probably didn't learn the rules to the game. But you're a participant, but you never read the book. You never read the game, the rule play, the rule book.
Mm.
Or you never learned from someone who knows how to apply the rules. You just took it at face value that it's that simple, just to get an LLC or whatever and get some business funding and become a slave again, because that's all you know how to do is be the servitude to the debt, right? You
Yeah.
go to work, you're exchanging your time and labor for a wage. So you go to the bank with your happy LLC, You're doing the same thing again. You're signing on the dotted line. You're going to be the servitude to pay that debt back. Yes or no?
Definitely yes.
See, so when you look at it from a different perspective, you get to see, wait a minute, that's not standing on business.
No, no, that's remaining a slave to the system. Because if we got to get up every day and go and work and toil for our FRNs or our money, that is exactly what is happening. We're pretty much going to the plantation to get what we need to go home, to come home and then pay those bills. That's what
So
most of
they
our money
moved
goes
this.
to.
They removed the cable tows and the chains and the shackles, but they put them. They imposed them on our critical and free thinking. They put a
Mm.
governor on our consciousness. So we can, even though we have the capacity to think further, we can only go to a certain point before this default setting kicks back in.
And the truth of the matter is, most
Which
of
is
us live
cybernetics.
beyond, right? We
Mm-hmm.
most of us are living beyond our means. So, like wealthy people are going after more debt, right? Because they know that the debt is going to pay them. Where quote unquote middle class people are focused on their credit score so that they could continue to acquire things that they can't afford in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm. Poor
And then,
people work for things. Middle class use credit to buy things, and the
right,
wealthy acquire assets to afford things.
right.
That's how we do
So
it.
poor people think that the purpose of getting money is to pay bills,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
middle class people think the purpose of it is to just to to appear as if you're okay. But most of it is being leveraged on credit that you can't afford those, 12, 19% interest rates at all, and you're paying the bare minimum. And then you're at some point you're going to end up in some financial chokehold, and you're going to have to file bankruptcy or figure out something or get caught up in that program where you're what is that thing where debt consolidation or something like that, where they'll tell you to stop paying your debts, which is going to then ruin your credit for a number of years. And then when a bankruptcy could have just wiped it out and you just start fresh, right?
Yeah, consolidation versus discharge. You gotta learn how to discharge debt.
Right. So some people will think, I don't know, why is that though? I mean, we're of course not giving financial advice or anything, but why do people think that the B word, the bankruptcy word, is so much more detrimental than the low credit score?
Because to those who are not playing the financial game, they've been taught that that's a walk of shame.
Mm,
Because see, so they keep you in that mindset that is shameful, so you'll stay loyal to that debt. Whereas, in the other realms, it's a financial tool
too, right.
to have a fresh. It's called a fresh start all over again.
Right. But that kind of
So
shows, that also tells us something about credit and debt, right? Like it really shows us that to me it seems as if it's make believe, because if I can go and spend up $50,000 worth of debt and then at some point realize I can't afford none of this, and I can go and discharge it and then they'll give it to me all over again,
because then the
like,
insurance companies kick in and make the creditor whole because they
yeah,
got discharged, and it's
yeah,
all the insurance game in that regard. Yeah.
see. But so many people will be so scared to go that route. It's not something that, you have to do what is best for you and your family and your financial situation.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's so many people that I have had conversations with, because I deal with credit reports all day long. When people will say, I signed up for a program and they told me to stop paying my bills. And it's been 3 years, and I've just been paying them. So I've been paying them so that they can negotiate debt after debt after debt, one at a time, not realizing that said company is going to be the one buying said debt for pennies on the dollar, and you've just been paying them to do that. But
Correct.
I used
But
to work for a company
I
like that.
think the issues of people maybe being afraid
Hmm.
of of owning and being the major operator and owner of a
Hmm.
business is there's some key factors that one has to consider if they really want to be at the top of the food chain or the all-seeing eye in the pyramid, if you will.
Right.
It's going to, like anything else, faith requires risk.
It does.
So forming, running, or starting a business involves some financial and professional and personal risk.
Mm-hmm. It
Because the
does.
fact of the matter is, a multitude of businesses fail. And these are things, unless you have a mentor to tell you, not starting a business, suck.
Mm-hmm.
90, they have a 90% failure rate.
This is true.
A business that starts has a 90% failure rate.
Mm-hmm.
10% fail in the first year. 70% will fail in years 2 through 5.
Mm-hmm.
So right there,
If you
that's
make
the
it past
failure.
5, you're kind of safe.
You kind of
Right.
say that's why when we're buying businesses, we look for 5-year-old companies because it's out of the matrix. But here are some of the major reasons why. And this is
Mm-hmm.
coming back to the passion versus, I keep saying passion doesn't get you paid. 42% of the time, the businesses that did fail failed 42% of the time because they had no true market demand. That means the
Mm-hmm.
passion that they had didn't really solve a problem for a larger market.
Mm.
29% of the time, they run out of money. Operative
Right.
word, the company runs out of money. Didn't
Right.
say has money or didn't acquire money. It had money but ran out of it because they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
Another stat to think about. 23% of those failure, of those 90% of failure, they did not have the right team. See, they didn't have a team of advisors, a board of directors, a board of trustees. They didn't have any of that.
Correct.
And because of that, 19% of the time they get outcompeted. That means it's a better company that's finely tuned machine that is running, doing business at an efficient level.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll leave the last one because I know you guys are bored with my statistics, right? Then 18% of that failure of 90% is due to pricing or cost issues. They didn't know how to price and what the cost was to do business.
What someone was willing to pay. So yeah.
Correct. So you see so those are some of the things. So that's coming back to just risk. I talked about risk was the first skill. I mean the first one. Then skill.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Mm-hmm.
to, it requires a combination of skills. You have to have leadership, decision making, financial management, and strategic planning. Where did you attain those skills? And if you did attain them, how sharp are they? When's the last time you used them?
Exactly.
Then there's time. You still need to be devoted to building a business in the initial stage before it becomes passive,
This is true.
which could mean working more hours per week than you did as an employee,
This is true.
right? Then there's the value system. Oh boy. Now that's the biggie. That's a biggie. Having values.
Uh-huh.
Unless you have a set of rules and values and priorities, you might fall for anything because you have nothing to stand on,
Mm. Your
right?
integrity, right?
Integrity factor. And then
Yeah.
last but not least, dealing with loss. Success, you don't become a champion because of how well you won. It's
Mm.
how well you handled losses.
This is true.
But
Because
most
those are
people
going to
don't come
come.
in scared money doesn't make money, they would always say, right? So
This
you
is
went into
true.
business afraid to lose money, then you're in the wrong business because you're gonna lose
Yeah,
sometime.
you
So long as
are.
you win more than you lose. And then last but not least, customer relations. If you've been used to being an introvert and you're not like talking to people, or you don't even like people, how can you
Mm.
treat your customers with care?
This is true.
That's why they call it customer care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are some of the things that you have to get fathered, mentored, and trained before you pull the trigger on
Hmm.
doing those other things. Now, are there
So
exceptions to the rule? Absolutely. There are some who go from rags to riches and it just happened, but it's possible but not probable. And
right.
so if you know the difference between that, your best bet would be get around people who are doing it. When you're 20 and 30 years old, your best bet is to get into proximity of power, knowledge, learn, and put your seed in the ground so you can reap a harvest. By the time you reach 40, 45, you can begin to see some fruits of your labor and you've learned some valuable principles. And then when you reach 50 years old, they say a man's net worth is directly correlated to what? Your network. So
Yeah,
in your 20s and 30s, you built a network of wise advisors that you were around.
this is so true.
See, so
People that
I'm
people
just
that
sharing
can
with you
pour into you.
who can pour into you. So I'm just sharing with you, this is how I reached it. That's what I did as
Hmm.
well.
Right.
First-hand knowledge.
And well, that's the that's the best way to do it. So it's in many instances I find that I have seen, I should say, and I'm always going back to what I see online a
Hmm.
lot. You know, the nail techs, the hairstylists. Again, like I was just saying, you have to do things that are going to be able to be like a you sign somebody up one time, and they constantly pay you each month, right? So I remember during the summer, I mean during the pandemic. The hair business, like hair is a big business. We know that, right? Especially in
Yeah.
the melanated community. But I remember seeing young ladies posting that they did to say 100,000 in a quarter, maybe 30, 40,000 a month, just doing hair, right?
Mm.
And this is them just doing the hair. The wigs, the weaves, all of that kind of stuff, the braids, because people are paying $500, $1,000, a few $1,000s to get hair done. I don't know who and know why, but this is happening. But um, this is a reality for a lot of people, and but they have to keep replicating that, right? So if your clients don't continuously come back every month or every other month, then you have to go and find new clients. So that's why we say if you find something that could actually allow them to constantly pay you over, because that's how wealth is built, as you have taught us. Wealth is a series of payments over time. It's not just one lump sum payment over and over. So you could have a client pay you $2,000 today, doesn't mean they're going to pay you $2,000 in 30 days unless you have some sort of value that's going to require them to do that and they see the value in that, right? Or
Well, that
even
yeah, yeah,
$200.
that comes back to in business once again. If you have the right coaches and mentors and to lead you, you need to identify the lifetime value of your customer.
Mm-hmm.
Because in business, we have just like a car is built on a chassis, a business is built on a chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And revenue, we know revenue is a result, and that means that it's a customer times the average transactional value times the frequency that they purchase equals revenue. So for
Mm.
those of you, there's a gem for today.
Yeah.
Revenue is a result of having a customer paying a paying a specific transactional value and then how often they do that. When
Correct.
you figure that out, you now can determine what your actual revenue or forecasted revenue will be.
Right.
And the goal is to build companies and brands that you receive monthly recurring revenue, MRR, monthly recurring revenue.
Or acquire. Said business already doing that.
Correct.
Right. That's the other thing, because that's honestly when if you're looking to go in the direction that we go in, that's what the process usually is. Because if you're trying to start something new, again, Al just went over, you don't know what your market share is, you don't know what anything is going to be until you actually throw yourself out there and do some research. You have to do the research before you actually throw yourself out there. But most people don't do that, which is why most of the businesses fail within the first year or 1 to 3 years or so.
Correct.
Um,
But
so
think about
that's
that. You went
yeah,
into debt first. This means you have a monthly obligation to repay the debt 30 days after you get the money, but your company's not even, it may be formed, but it's not in position to prosper or to do business. So
it's not in
where
profit,
does that money come from? You're paying
right?
back the loan proceeds to pay the debt down. That
Right.
doesn't make it, so that's a double amortization. That's double. You're not winning.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
people do it all the
true.
time. People do it all the time. Because this
If
is the
they
way
want,
that they tell you to do it. Well, you know what? Just go and get your LLC. Pay me 10 to 12% on the amount I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna mint you how to get
well,
this
no,
bag.
that's what they do. But let's be real. There's some people who go to the bank and go get a loan, right? Or you'll hear, we hear a lot of times. especially people like the pundits and stuff like that on political shows. Like they don't give the banks won't give us money so that we can start our own businesses and do this, that, and the other. So again, it's that's a lot that we have heard about starting businesses. The banks won't give us money. The
Do you
banks
know
won't give
why?
us
Hold
money
on.
for real estate,
But can I
won't
be
for
fair?
anything.
Can I be fair? This coming from this space of private
Hmm.
equity and finance, banks are in the business of wanting
Hmm.
to lend credit. That's how they make money. No, they want to lend. They want to lend that credit out. They
Right.
want to extend credit. The challenge is if you don't know how to speak the language to us, we're going to decline you. And the language is, tell me your vision.
Right.
Show me how that vision will turn a profit and how many people need your vision. 99.9% of the time, people cannot speak that or articulate that enough for someone to say yes. You know what they do? They go once again and they buy a template, or they get a template with a 60, 80, 90 page business plan that has a whole lot of nothing in it.
Oh yeah,
And then they
yeah.
want to present that big stack of paper in the old days or send me a PDF and expect me to read through all those pages to get to where you're trying to tell me what you need.
Right.
That's why it
Right.
goes in the garbage, Basuda. That's why it goes in the garbage. I'm just telling you. I'm just
It's
teaching
the
you. I'm just
truth.
teaching you. If it can make money and it makes
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah. You should be able
you
to
get the dollars.
yeah, you should be able to intelligently articulate exactly what it is you're doing.
Funding follows clarity. Say it
Yeah.
loud. That's the second gem for the day.
Yeah.
Funding is attracted to clarity, and clarity comes from management because you're managing your mint. So if you manage your mint, for those who caught that metaphysically, you'd have clarity, and with clarity attracts capitalization. This is simple. But see, nobody wants to sit back and learn. They don't want to learn these principles. Everybody's in a hurry.
How to simplistic. And a lot of times when I'm speaking to people and they start going on a tangent with these, these crazy words or whatever, and so you're throwing me off. So this is an industry that you know about, I don't know about, and you want me to understand it sounds like you know what you're doing, but if you can't explain it to me or somebody else, like we're a 5 year old, it's not going to go anywhere. And that sometimes you have to learn how to break things down so people can simplistically understand, because in my mind, God is not a God of confusion, right? So, and that's in business and relationships or anything. If you're clear on where we're at in business and relationships or whatever, then I know which direction we're going, where we're heading. But if
Is that
you're
what?
all over the place, I'm
Yes.
not
Isn't
going.
that isn't that why relationships most of the time fail?
Yeah,
Because the head of
confusion.
the household didn't have a mission, and
This
so
is
they
true.
can't expect somebody to be submissive without the mission.
This is
Submission could never happen unless there's a mission.
this is so true.
And if
Where
the
are you
mission is
leading
not
me?
clear,
Hmm.
we don't
I'm
know where
not
we're
following
going.
you. I'm not
Right.
following you.
Okay.
That's
And
that's
the
just
same in
it.
business and the same in finance. If it's not clear and concise,
Hmm. That
then
we're
and
not
you
going anywhere.
and you have the team to pull it off.
Yep.
Imagine you're looking to ask for $500,000, and what do you do right now? Oh, I have a job.
Right.
And how much time are you gonna put into this new venture? Oh, I'm gonna put it like part time until it gets off the ground before I leave my job. So wait, you want me to fund your business that you won't even be there?
Right, right. You don't even trust your business because you haven't even put all your all into it yet.
See, I'm
So
just sharing with you
yeah,
these are
yeah.
things, and most of the business funding out here that's being done, the person's being qualified by their own FICO scores and their own income from their 1040s. So
That's just not
it's
true.
job oriented. You talk about you getting business funding, but you're using your job and your FICO score to get approved. This is madness. It's insane. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. It is. So, but yeah. So is business for everybody? You said it is. So you don't always have to have a brick and mortar business. You don't always have to call that your business. There's other ways that you can create business, maybe through investments and things of that nature, right?
Right.
Where so you don't always have, because maybe business is not for you. Maybe you feel like you need that safe check each month, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are ways to still generate additional revenue into your net worth without you having to, will you put things in play and the money continues to come in. So that could be investing in companies' stocks, right? That could be investing in real estate. It's in real estate notes. There's a lot of ways that they can go ahead and still create ownership without having to build a full blown out brick and mortar business, right?
I'm gonna say, you know what? Like we said at the top of the call, when you're about to endeavor into something new,
Mm-hmm.
learn to be a well-informed Indian before you become a chief.
Oh, right, right. Well, that's where what people used to do. People still do those internships.
Intern, apprentice, we got away from the things that worked.
Yeah, yeah. Because most people will say, I know I would say that when I was younger. I'm like, I'm not working for free. So, but because that's what it felt like you were doing. But in actuality, you were actually gaining knowledge. You were learning the inner workings of how things were put together.
But what's the difference in going to one of us, our fine educational institutions? Aren't you paying for the knowledge?
This
You're
is
paying
true.
with money and time.
With money and
You're
time.
gonna sit down for 4 years, full-time matriculate, carrying a minimum of 12 to 14 credits for four
Yeah,
years
yeah. So true. And
to
that's
get a
the
job.
to
That's to
get
get a
a
job.
job.
That's to get a job.
Right,
Now you
exactly.
want
That's what I was
somebody to
just thinking
teach you,
about.
but you want somebody to teach you how to be a free thinking person to have your own. What value does that have versus getting
Mm,
a job? See,
yeah.
we have to start thinking about the value on this thing.
And that's it right there. The you are willing to go and pay what's the average
Forty
school
thousand
now?
for for basic. We ain't talking Ivy. We talking basic $40,000 a year.
40,000 a year. That's $160,000 in debt that you are looking to go into to get a job that may pay you 60,000 when you're done. But to become, like he said, a free thinking owner, entrepreneur, learning the just the how to free yourself
To
from the
write your own checks.
plantation,
To write your own
to write
checks.
your own checks, to free yourself.
Unlimited, an unlimited check at that.
Yeah.
You want to be pension, you want a penny pension, be cheap
You want
and
the
think they could have
$99
give it to you for free,
special.
right? But you wasn't even paying $99 when you went to college. Even community
No.
college costs more than 99 cents.
Not 99 cents. But yeah. But yeah, exactly. That's the whole that's the thing that gets us when these conversations come up. They want to have conversations with you. They want to pick your brain. Or I'll see people say to me, "Well, you have the knowledge. Why don't you just give it to people?" Right? You know,
Tell that to Harvard.
exactly.
Tell that to the HSBCUs.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like, I've been Al's been doing it over what, 30 years. I've been in my own business for 16, but in the industry for 27. So that's a lot of information. We took a lot of beat downs to get here. It's like a lot. And
It's a
still,
lot.
it's a lot.
But again, it comes back to, but what makes the difference, right? People want some kind of surety. Well, university does not guarantee or ensure
It
that you
does
will get a
not.
job at graduation, right?
It does
So
not.
even when you're choosing a mentor or a coach, they can't ensure your success. Why? Because we can't put the reps in for you. However, if you're on our team and we're in a covenant relationship, meaning we own a business together,
Hmm.
then you win when
As we
I
win.
win when you win, I lose when you lose. So in that
Exactly.
scenario now, the principal investment that you make in yourself in the form of time and money has a different value system.
Correct. One of the things I get a lot in the credit space is I got a text maybe 2 days ago. How long is it going to take you to get me to a 800 credit score?
That why is that? Why does everyone get so infatuated on the score, on the
I
number? Like, is it
know.
magic? Is there a magic wand? 740. Ah.
Well, I always laugh, my response is always, which is the truth. I cannot guarantee you a score because I don't control the credit reporting agencies. All I can do is do what I'm supposed to do, but also guide you on what you need to do. And usually that formula gets us to the number we need it to be at. And just
Yes.
because you have an 800 credit score does not mean you're going to get approved. So that is something that a lot of people need to understand as well. It's not about the number, it's about the structure of your file. How solid
Hmm.
is your file, period? Because I've gotten 660 files approved faster than an 800 file before. So that's, it's not, that's what people always ask me that question, just
It's a
like what you're saying,
profile. It's your profile.
a profile. So it's we cannot guarantee results, but we can show you exactly what the formula is to get there. And once it hits the credit reporting agency's system, it's their job to get their algorithm to do what it's supposed to do. That's not, we can't say, oh, once we're in 3 months you'll have a 720. Because we don't know. And
That's true.
you might, we'll be working on your file and you decide, I need a new car and go get 39 inquiries over a weekend. So it's and that happens a lot too. So it's less little things like that. So when we're building businesses, sometimes the people we're working with will sometimes throw a monkey wrench in the plan, and sometimes we have to start from scratch. But if you
Hmm.
follow the plan, you follow the formula, or you at least, at the very least, when something does arise in your life, because life happens, right? You communicate that with your team. Now we can kind of pivot and try to guide you and point you in the right direction so that you don't derail us too much. That's all. So, because again, life happens.
That's it. Life
So
does happen.
that's life be life. So life be life. But again, when you work with a team and you work with people who have been there, done that before, they can say, well, press pause for a minute. Give us the full story. And now we can now guide you. So in that instance, as opposed to you going to a dealership to get 39 inquiries, we could say, no, go do this and you'll maybe get one or two, and
Hmm.
then we could
Correct.
continue forward, that kind of
Correct.
thing. So it's all about communication. That's, you have to be upfront with your partners, or your team, because even when I'm working on your credit, I'm on your team at that point, right? So if I don't know what you're doing, and next month I see that you have 65 inquiries out of nowhere, I'm gonna give up, because you like, because it's working backwards. If you're going to keep doing stuff, it's working backwards, right? So yeah.
Well, it starts with, as we always say, right, in the community, that it starts with there's a multitude of mindsets that a mindset that you have to, but the first one is that you truly have to shift from a scarcity mindset to a limitless list of mindset where you know that there's an abundance. And until you
Yeah.
do that, it's going to be hard because you won't be able to see past your job. Because every belief that you have is either
Mm.
keeping you in a tiny scarcity box or is opening your mind to experience a limitless abundance belief. So it all comes back down to that.
Mm. And then
Yeah.
also learn how to take your job and use it as
They
fuel to the next
weaponize it. Yeah.
level.
They weaponize it. Yeah.
Right.
Because see,
But you could
yeah,
but you could use your job to take you to the next level,
you better
right?
believe it.
So
Hmm.
let your job fund your dream or your goal, or we ain't gonna say passion, but let your job fund your next level in life. And a lot of people don't do that. I have a friend. I remember he used to work at Clorox, and he had a, what's that thing called, the lawn service thing.
Hmm.
And he would, he had one of those on the side. He had workers working, so while he was out working at Clorox, he had that happening, right? The people out working, he would get, government contracts or whatever in Chicago. And I guess, his wife was there helping as well. So he would tell me, helping to manage things as well. But he would tell me this is what he's doing to get where he's trying to go. And then he became a real estate agent on top of that. So
What a
he
mercy.
was he was doing all of these things, but it was coming together. But his Clorox job, his corporate job, was what was helping to fund and keep him afloat while everything else was growing. And now this is probably like over a decade ago. Now he's in such a strong position in life that he used that job. He's not at the job anymore. So he's used that job, and now everything else he has going on, has worked for him.
But he turned into a
And
family business. You see, him and the wife was working together. They were on mission. She
yeah,
understood the assignment.
that's oh man. That's one of my favorite things I love to say. Because even I told you that even when my husband was alive, he understood the assignment. That was it. When you have somebody who's just on board with you, it kind of allows you to breathe a little bit easier to go after the bigger picture. So when people just understand and come alongside of you and lock arms with you, especially if they're your partner in life,
Yeah,
that
but
makes
co-pilots, not passengers, to take this life journey with you.
mm-hmm.
Life is like a 747. You need a
Yeah,
co-pilot to
yeah.
help you navigate, not a passenger.
And he wasn't
Passengers
trying to
want to,
understand what I did,
right?
right? He just, I'm just gonna go to work and do what I got to do. You do what you do, and that was it. It wasn't like he was trying to figure out what I do with it on a day to day basis. But yeah, when you have somebody who understands that, just like let me, I just need somebody there to hold me down while I do
Mm-hmm.
this X, Y,
Mm-hmm.
and Z. So yeah. And yeah, so like when I see him now and my friend online and posting the pictures of him and his family and how they've grown so much and their businesses have grown, it's I love to see that because I love seeing people win in life. This especially when
Mm-hmm.
they because I think when people get the money situation when the money situation is out of is not an issue anymore, then people are able to breathe and live and thrive. Because when you're constantly sitting at work or at home trying to look at this spreadsheet of numbers and bills and stuff like that, and it's hard. It's nerve wracking. It's frustrating, and it never feels like you're ever going to get ahead.
Well, let's
But
go
you
back to reward retitling. Money is what? The energy of your
energy of your
mind.
mind,
So
yeah.
until you change your mind from that scarcity belief system
Mhm.
to a limitless abundance mindset,
Mhm.
you're going to be stuck there because when you're in scarcity, you have a false belief that there isn't enough time in the day, there isn't enough money, there isn't enough big clients, there's enough opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy of enough. You begin to have these subconscious conversations with yourself.
You feel defeated.
That's why you stay in a job that you're not fulfilled with.
That's so true.
Because you don't think there's anything better. Or you're
So
afraid that
true.
you can't find better.
So true. It's so true.
So you have to fix
And
your mind.
and mentally you beat yourself up, honestly.
Yeah, and
Because
then you
and a
go
lot of
from there.
times it's from people who have done everything that we were told to do, right?
Correct, correct.
They say go to school, get an education, go get some more education, and then we'll hire you to do this
Yeah, yeah. Just
job.
imagine. I mean, again, we're not against jobs by no means, right? But what we're just trying to say is that you can leverage your current job to help you catapult you to where you want to go, so long as you have clarity and you have a plan, right?
Correct.
But here's something: whenever you get lost or stuck, look at the senior people on your job that's
Mm-hmm.
been there maybe 10, 15 years longer than you.
Mm-hmm.
Look at their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
If you think that your life would be any different if you continue doing the same thing that they're currently doing and
Mm.
you're doing together there, then
Mm-hmm.
you need to have it, you need to really examine yourself.
Yeah.
If you
You
think it's
need to
going to
have a
be any different,
have a
really need to have
long
a really
conversation with
long
yourself.
conversation with yourself. You need to start
Yeah.
thinking, do I believe that this is going to be any better for me 15 years down the line? That's going to be me 15 years down the line.
Yeah, and honestly,
Now,
that was the conversation I would have with
now,
myself
now
when I
let's
was in corporate America.
let's fast forward that. You have children that are born in the data in the digital age. They see you doing that. All of their lives, they saw you doing that. But when you trying to teach them that you must do the same thing, they're gonna be, oh no, mom, you're out of your mind. I'd rather be a TikTok sensation. Ain't no
Just
way in the
the
world. There's no way in the world I'm going to work 40 hours. What you see how you left us home as a latchkey kid? Ain't no way.
yeah,
I'm not doing
yeah,
that. You worked too hard, came home tired. We never had enough or just enough. No, I'm not trying to do that. There's a better way.
and there's
And
no honestly when you saw people who live like that, or and if they even went and got a part-time job or something, they still never got ahead. They were just beating themselves up even more, trying to. carry on a 40-hour a week job plus, and then say, I'm going to go and do this on the side, or do their own little side gigs of helping people in their homes and fixing things just to get some extra coins here and there. But they never, in many instances, got ahead. And we saw these people in our neighborhoods all the time. They would be working from sun up to sundown in our own households. I would see my dad every morning get up and go to work for New York City Transit, but he
Listen,
wasn't.
I tell you, I saw that as well. Sun up to sundown. You know, all I noticed as a result, this may sound comedic, but it's funny and it's true. All I used to see is a pair of worn out shoes that slanted to the side and
Mm,
people with big calves from walking all day.
yeah, yeah. I never thought about that, but yeah,
You see those
that's true
shoes that
too.
they work, their work shoes?
Yeah,
They
lean over,
leaned
leaning
over the
over.
back, the heel be slanted to one side because it's worn out from working, but then they had strong legs because they're on their feet all day. Big strong
Hmm.
calves. That's it.
And they were tired,
And they're tired.
and they were tired. Life was
Right.
beating them up,
Beating them up.
and it was not. They were doing, I guess, quote unquote, an honest living and making an honest income and taking care of their families, but they did not get an opportunity to enjoy life
Yes.
because every waking moment was,
Well, did you
I,
notice what they said there? You see how the system designed us?
yeah,
Honest living equaled working hard.
yes, yes,
Because by working hard, you had a sense of pride, and it
yeah,
was honest to be prideful.
mm-hmm, yeah, so true, so
But
true. That's part of the indoctrination that happens, right? But from our one of our first meetings like this, we talked about it starts in Head Start. So we start indoctrinating our children down this path at an early age. So they get up and they get ready in the morning, they run off to school, and then they get into the college and they do the same thing and they go into the workforce and they're up early and they're running from class to class. And then, I mean, to their job to go and do what they have to do at the job. But it started when they was like 3 years old.
hmm
It
yes,
starts.
indeed.
It started so early on in life. Like it's crazy. It's so crazy when you really think about it. Like your entire life was spent running after something, and that really doesn't give you much fulfillment.
And it wasn't a clear, and the face was not clear. It didn't have clarity. You didn't know
No,
exactly what you were pursuing, but you were pursuing something.
right? Because that's what we've been told to do. So if you don't have your kids in school, don't you get some sort of well, you get in trouble, right, by the law. We've always been in school, so I don't know. But there's something I know you have to be educating your children. I know people homeschool their children and things of that nature, but you have to be educating your children in some way, sense in some sense of the form.
You know, it's
Um,
funny. My mentor said to me many years ago, he said, "You're an intelligent guy, went to school."
mhm,
He says, "Why do you think they use the analogy chasing the carrot?"
mm, why?
And I sat down for a moment and I thought about that. He said, just to visualize a person has a carrot on a string, on a
Right.
stick, dangling in front of you, in front of the treadmill. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
chasing the carrot? I thought about
Hmm.
that. Most people believe that it was the carrot represented money,
Money.
but in reality, it represented vision
Mm.
because carrot possesses beta carotene,
Oh,
which is improving your
your
vision.
eyesight, your
The
vision. Yeah,
sight, your vision. And so that's why most people never attain it because they misrepresented the carrot as a form of money or currency
money.
as opposed to knowledge and vision.
That's powerful.
So
So in
if any
essence, you need to have a vision.
correct.
Yeah.
And here and I know we're coming up on the time the our time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to just give one more last nugget. It's actually a cash flow hack. One of the
Okay.
money secrets that we teach in the community is about asking yourself something. Ask yourself
Mm.
this powerful question. For those of you listening, write it down. Gem number 3 of the day. What must I believe to achieve X in Y time? And X represents whatever it is that you want to do, and the time is the destination. So, for example, what must I believe to do to achieve more sales in 6 months. You have to fill in the gap, the X and the Y. What must I believe to achieve X and Y in time? So when you think about that, and you start
Mm-hmm.
the key is what do you believe? What do you need to believe? Not what do you need to do or the how. What do you believe in your
Well, don't you
mind?
first have to believe in that scenario? You have to believe that you can actually do it, right?
Yeah, you have to
If
shift
you,
from scarcity to lack. Absolutely.
right, you have to believe that this is something that I actually can accomplish,
Hmm.
um, and that what I have to offer is worthy of me closing more sales.
That is correct. Because once you change that mindset, right, you start running, well, I need to start leveraging time because this 40-40-40 club is not making sense to me. I'm putting too much time into not to enjoy my life. So I need to leverage time through
Hmm.
automation.
Right.
I
And
need
for
to
those
add
who don't know the
value.
40-40-40,
Right. That's correct. I need to add value, which means when I add value, I increase my wealth.
correct. And
I
for
have to
those
start.
who don't know
Go
who what 40-40 is.
go ahead. You can, I'll let you explain the 40-40-40 club. No, it's not Jay-Z's club, by the way.
Oh man. So 40-40-40 is working 40 hours a week for 40 years, only to retire on 40% of your income, which we all know at the rate of inflation, you
Oof.
cannot afford to keep doing life that way,
No way.
right? So if you're currently living off 100,000, can you afford to live off of 60,000?
Actually, the other way, you live on
I mean,
40s, so you're on
40,000. Yeah,
40,000.
40,000. Sorry. Yeah, you'll be living on 40,000. And so you've lost 60,000 in retirement, is what I'm saying. So yeah. But can you afford to do that? And most people can't afford to live on 40,000 at all right now.
And we
So
see
can
the
you
evidence of
afford?
that, right? And the evidence is very prevalent right now. When we
Yeah.
go into all the fast food restaurants, supermarket, grocery stores, and all the major chains, Walmart, you see our seniors with the little yellow vest on or the
Yeah.
neon color green
Yeah. And they're doing DoorDash and Uber Eats and
because
Uber
in
and
because they followed that plan. They believed in that plan.
yeah. And it's scary having just knowing that they bought into that whole plan of I'm gonna go and do it this way, only to realize that now I have to go and work for $15 an hour, and I'm 75 years old.
But my question in closing out the call today, my question is, unless they don't have children or family, children of their own or created a family of their own, where's their family? Unless they're the last man standing, that's a different story. But where's the group economics?
Well, you know we live in me
There's
by
no
me.
way I would have had my grandmother or grandfather or great grand working. There's no way in the world.
Well, but then we're still in me by me, and if again, if grandma doesn't have enough money and all I'm making is 50,000 for me and my children, I can't afford to help
Okay.
grandma on a regular
Oh
basis.
yes, you can, because grandma still have expenses, but she come move in with you. She's bringing her income that
I'm
she
in a
still
two
get
bedroom with
that
three kids.
40%. Then that's when we combine together, we can have more.
No, I get I definitely get what you're saying, but I'm just thinking about how that all is, the excuses that people are going to come up with, right? I'm in a two bedroom and I have two kids and I'm pregnant and grandma needs to get here, there, and everywhere. But how am I going to help grandma do that when she's on limited money? You know, she brings in is maybe $1,000 a month.
No, it's more
But
than that. They bring in more than that, but okay, that's a
eh,
thousand dollars more than what you did have. She brings in 1,000, but she still had living expenses as well.
yeah,
So that becomes 1,000 more in the household. And that means you probably don't have to pay for daycare anymore because grandma's there. And
if
see?
grandma is able to help. Grandma might not be able to help. She might have some problems, but she can't be dealing with my kids all the time.
The
So,
baby's kids, okay.
so,
So that sounds
but
like grandma wasn't prevalent. That means that sounds like grandma was not a fixture, a prevalent fixture in the family's life to begin with. Because if they was, then the grandkids know how grandma rolled.
yeah, yeah.
Right? See, you can
It
keep
just
going backwards on
depends.
that.
It depends. Like it just really depends on how each person's family dynamic is going to be different. But that's a lot of times, and it's always a lot of times people are me by me, right? I even see people posting like I saw this morning. People always said it said something like, we were always taught that we would always have family in life, but the truth of the matter is that we always have ourselves, meaning that I
Mm.
don't always have my family. So, and that's how a lot of people feel.
Well, you don't always have your relatives because family is
That's
who
true.
you choose it to be. So you can always have
That's true
family
too. And even the people
if
that
you're
you
around the
choose
right
can.
people. If you're around the right people, yeah.
True. I was gonna say even the people you choose as family can kind of backslide on you at the same time. So it's like you're always just focused on yourself, right? So most people keep their problems to themselves because they don't want to burden anyone else. So that happens a lot too. That wasn't the case back many years ago because again we were raised with generations in a household, right? So but that's not the case anymore, and everybody wants to have their own thing for their own family, and that's just what life is. Sadly, unfortunately, but
That's
you
why the beginning of the call, family business starts first. That's the first business you need to get in order is family business.
yeah. Yeah, and in other cultures, you'll find that they do bring in mama when mama gets old, and they make sure mama is taken care of, and mama is there helping to raise the children, because they understand that whole dynamic. But
But
I
even,
guess
I mean, with that said, right, even in most cultures, right, you're a young woman, and let's just say you had a early teenage pregnancy. Nine
hmm
times out of ten, if mom's wanted to put you out, grandma took you in. Grandma pitched
hmm
in.
yep, yep,
So there was the help that was needed. So now you
always.
grow up, the kids grow up, but you're not going to now help grandma who helped you raise your kids. See, that's broken. Something's
It is
broken there.
broken. It's very
Something's
broken.
broken there.
And technically, that was me, right? I had my daughter when I was pretty much 17 years old. My mom was there, and my grandmother was there. And if I did not have my village, my dad was there. I had my people. So, and I raised my
You can sleep.
daughter.
You can sleep when the baby's crying. Listen to you.
I sure
That
did. Child, I would roll
somebody's
over.
gonna
I'm
come
like,
get her. Somebody's gonna
my
come and get
mother,
her.
my mother would come in there and be like, "Oh, I got the baby." I was like, "Oh, you took long enough." Like, God darn.
Wow, wow. But see the love, see the foundation and the love though. See,
Yes.
this is what I'm talking about though. Group
Yeah.
economics.
It's so true. And that's, I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. That really was. I'm like, what's taking her so long to come get this baby?
You hear your child
So
crying, but you're like, I'm not getting up. I know my mother, my grandmother, big mama's gonna come in here in a minute.
somebody
Somebody's
gonna come
coming.
get this baby because I need to sleep. But
Wow,
that was definitely my reality. So yeah,
wow,
I'm not gonna lie and say that wasn't because it was. But
wow. That's
but
interesting.
that's what
Yeah.
I was in a family that loved me. But I know other people who were in families where their mom was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. You need to take that kid to a daycare center. You know, I'm not. So I did see the different dynamics, and I did have to count my blessings and say that I was, although I know it was a burden kind of for my family, they didn't make it feel like a burden, right? So they still embraced me, they still loved me, and they still allowed me to continue forward with my life. Although I did kind of derail a little bit, but even in derailing, I was able to get back on track. So,
Well,
but that's what
I
families
look
that's what
forward.
family's supposed to do.
I look forward for the grand, for the little one, for the grands. I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Oh, you're gonna I can't wait, Mr. Allen. We ain't gonna do it like that. Watch, they're gonna be have you like putty in their hands.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, but Papa old school, you know. Don't go by him. Don't do that.
Look, yeah, y'all hear the Trinity accent come on strong.
Old school. Don't leave him by me if you don't want to be dealt with.
Uh-huh. Look, Yaffa said no daycare, stranger danger.
Stranger danger. That's
Stranger
right.
danger. Yeah,
Exactly. But
yeah.
yeah, this has been a great conversation. I mean, I'm hoping that for those who are listening now or in the
hmm
recording, that you're getting some valuable gems and nuggets from this. And we're just going to encourage that if you want to find a community, a common unity that wants to continue to perpetuate these type of cultures and group economics, we're here. So I'm gonna hand it back
Yeah,
to
we
you.
are here. We are
Hmm.
definitely here for anyone who wants to have a conversation on how to start, grow, and/or scale a business, how to acquire businesses that are already successful, what type of plan, process, pathway you should have for yourself,
She
then
got it right.
definitely.
She got it right. She got it right. She
I
got the
like that.
PPP
Look,
in the
look.
right
I,
order. She got it right.
I like it the way it sounds the other way, but that's that's why I always
Mm.
say it like that. But plan, process, and pathway in place for yourself, then just go to the link in my bio, and schedule a strategy session / discovery call, or go to pinkpowerceo.com. And again, we can have the conversation about that. If it's about, if your credit, if you feel like my credit is not where it needs to be, all of these things come into play under one umbrella, right? It's not separated. We can have the conversation about credit, business, wealth building, all of those things, the things that we offer that Al teaches as well. So definitely go to pinkpowerceo.com and we will help you along the way. At least you know what your options are, if nothing else. All
Awesome.
right. That was your closing message before it.
Yeah, that was my closing
That I
message.
got it right.
You got it right. You got it right.
All right. Well, I hope